The 35th floor of the glass tower gleamed in the Sunday afternoon light.
Clarity on this is crucial for
Inside the conference room,
Let's review the
tension
current
crackled
projections.
as Rebecca Lane faced the most critical negotiation of her career. Across from her, Sheikh Omar Allard spoke rapidly in Arabic, his words sharp with frustration. The translator had vanished without warning, leaving Rebecca's team helpless. Omar rose from his chair, preparing to leave. Outside in the hallway, 6-year-old Sofia Alvarez sat reading while her father David cleaned nearby. The Arabic words drifting through the door made her look up, and she walked into the room, speaking in perfect crystalline Arabic that stopped everyone cold. David Alvarez had been cleaning office buildings for 7 years, ever since his wife Maria passed away from cancer. At 35, his hands bore the calluses of honest work. But when he looked at his daughter Sofia, none of that mattered. She was his universe. Their small apartment in Queens wasn't much, but he'd filled it with something more valuable than luxury. Books. Hundreds of them lined makeshift shelves he'd built from reclaimed wood. David himself had only finished high school, but he understood that education was the ladder his daughter would climb to reach heights he could only imagine. Sofia was no ordinary 6-year-old. While other children her age struggled with basic reading, she devoured texts in multiple languages with an appetite that astonished her teachers. 3 months ago, she discovered an old Arabic textbook at a community book exchange. Something about the flowing script captivated her. Every evening, while David prepared their simple dinner, Sofia would sit at their tiny kitchen table, carefully tracing Arabic letters, whispering the sounds to herself until they became as natural as breathing. Rebecca Lane had built her reputation through 16-hour days and ruthless efficiency. At 30, she was the youngest CEO in her company's history, an achievement that came with crushing pressure from the board. This deal with Sheikh Omar's consortium represented 2 years of careful cultivation. If successful, it would secure her position and create 300 jobs in the city. Everything hinged on this meeting. Sheikh Omar Al-Fayed commanded respect wherever he went. At 48, he'd built an empire spanning real estate, hospitality, and technology across the Middle East. But beneath the designer suit beat the heart of a Bedouin boy who'd grown up reciting poetry under desert stars. He valued honor above profit, relationships above transactions. The missing translator wasn't just an inconvenience, it was an insult. The conference room had been meticulously prepared since dawn. Rebecca's assistant had arranged everything from the halal catering to the precisely cooled Arabian coffee. The contracts lay ready on the mahogany table, requiring only signatures to transform months of negotiation into reality. Omar's patience snapped first. He launched into a rapid stream of Arabic, his hands gesturing sharply as he addressed his team of 4 advisors. They nodded grimly, gathering their papers. Rebecca caught only one word she recognized: khalas. Finished. Her heart sank as she realized the magnitude of this failure. Please, Sheikh Omar. Rebecca stood, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Give us 30 minutes. I promise we'll find another translator. Omar paused at the door, turning back with eyes that held both disappointment and pity. He spoke again in Arabic, slower this time, his words carrying the weight of finality. David had been wiping down the water fountains in the hallway when he heard the raised voices. Sunday overtime paid double, money he desperately needed. He'd brought Sofia along because their regular babysitter was sick, settling her in the hallway with her favorite books. Rebecca's assistant rushed past him, cell phone pressed to her ear, frantically calling translation services. All closed on Sunday. In a city of 8 million people, they couldn't find a single Arabic speaker available immediately. Inside the conference room, Omar's team had reached the door. Rebecca's CFO was practically begging, offering to double their previous offer if they'd just wait. But money wasn't the issue. Respect was, trust was, and both had been shattered. That's when Sofia walked in. She moved with the unconscious confidence of a child who hadn't yet learned to doubt herself. Her blonde curls caught the afternoon light as she approached Sheikh Omar directly, her small voice clear and surprisingly authoritative as she spoke in flawless classical Arabic. Peace be upon you, honored uncle. Forgive the interruption. But I heard your words through the door. You said trust is like glass. Once broken, it cannot be mended. But my mother, before she went to heaven, told me that broken things can become art if we're brave enough to piece them together differently. Perhaps this moment isn't breaking, but reshaping. The room froze in absolute stillness. David burst through the door seconds later, still clutching his mop, his face flushed with embarrassment and fear. Sophia, I'm so sorry, everyone. Please forgive the interruption. Come on, baby. We need to go right now. But Omar raised his hand. His expression transformed from anger to wonder. He knelt slowly to Sophia's height, responding in Arabic. And peace be upon you, little scholar. Where did you learn to speak the language of poetry with such grace? Sophia smiled, switching effortlessly to English for the other's benefit, then back to Arabic for Omar. From books, uncle, and from listening to recordings. My father says listening is how we learn to understand hearts, not just words. I listen to Arabic every night before sleep. The language sings to me in my dreams. She's translating perfectly, Rebecca whispered. This child is translating sophisticated Arabic perfectly. Omar stood slowly, his eyes moving from Sophia to David, taking in the work uniform, the tired eyes that spoke of double shifts and sacrificed sleep. This remarkable child is yours. Yes, sir. I'm truly sorry for the disruption. We'll leave immediately. I know we don't belong here. No. Omar's word carried authority, but also warmth. Stay, please. He turned to Rebecca. It seems God provides solutions in unexpected packages. If you're willing, I would like this young lady to help us continue our discussion. Would that be all right with you, Mr. David Alvarez? Sophia, honey, these are important people doing important work. We shouldn't interrupt. Sophia tugged on her father's sleeve, her blue eyes earnest. Daddy, Mrs. Rebecca needs help. Mama said we should always help when we can. She said that's how angels earn their wings on earth. The negotiation resumed with Sophia perched on a chair between the two parties, translating complex financial terms with the ease of someone discussing playground games. She didn't just translate words, she conveyed tone, emotion, cultural context. When Omar made a joke about camels and venture capitalists that relied on Arabic wordplay, she laughed before translating, explaining the pun, and her genuine delight broke through his remaining reserve. How does she know these technical terms? Rebecca whispered to David. She reads everything she can get her hands on. Last week, I found her with my old economics textbook from community college. She reads the business section of newspapers I bring home from recycling. She absorbs everything. He shook his head in amazement. I never knew she'd learned Arabic to this level. As the afternoon wore on, the atmosphere shifted from tension to collaboration. Sophia occasionally asked for clarification, her questions so insightful that both parties paused to consider angles they'd overlooked. When discussion turned to community impact, she shared her own observation. My father works very hard, but he says honest work makes honest sleep. Maybe this deal can help more fathers sleep honestly. Maybe it can help children have more books. Omar's eyes softened visibly. He heard echoes of his own daughter, Amira, lost to leukemia 10 years ago. Tell me, young Sophia, who taught you our beautiful language? Nobody taught me exactly, uncle. I found a book at the community center book exchange. It had beautiful letters like art, like birds flying in formation. Then I found recordings at the library. She switched to Arabic. I practiced every day, sometimes while Daddy was sleeping after his night shift. Arabic sounds like music mixed with mathematics. Each word has a family, roots that connect to other words like a great tree with spreading branches. Omar laughed, a rich sound that transformed his stern face. You understand the beauty of our language better than many native speakers. In my childhood in Saudi Arabia, I memorized the Quran by lamplight, learning that words carry not just meaning, but music. The contracts were reviewed line by line with Sophia clarifying nuances. When they reached a particularly complex passage about liability, she paused, thinking carefully. Sheikh Omar is concerned that the insurance requirements might conflict with Sharia-compliant financing structures. He suggests adding a clause that allows for alternative arrangements that meet both American legal standards and Islamic financial principles. Rebecca's lawyer nodded appreciatively. That's actually brilliant. It protects both parties while respecting religious considerations. By 5 o'clock, as the sun began its descent toward the Manhattan skyline, the primary agreement was reached. Omar stood, extending his hand to Rebecca, then surprising everyone by also shaking David's hand. Why? Equal respect. You have raised a remarkable daughter, Mr. Alvarez. In my culture, we say that children are the flowers of paradise. Your flower blooms with exceptional beauty. David's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Thank you, sir. She's all I have in this world. Her mother would be so proud. She is proud, Omar said quietly. Mothers watch over their children from paradise. Your wife's spirit lives in this child's remarkable mind. Rebecca suggested they continue discussions over dinner, but David hesitated. We should get home. We don't really fit in those kinds of places. Nonsense, Rebecca said firmly. You're part of this success, both of you. This deal wouldn't have happened without Sophia. At the elegant restaurant, David sat stiffly at first, overwhelmed, but Sophia's natural ease helped him relax. She asked Omar about Dubai's architecture, about building in sand, about how skyscrapers withstand desert storms. Your daughter sees connections others miss, Omar told David. Has she been tested for giftedness? The school wanted to skip her ahead 3 grades. But I wanted her to have a normal childhood, friends her own age. Over dessert, as Sophia practiced writing Omar's name in Arabic script, Rebecca found herself studying David. His hands, rough from work, moved with surprising gentleness as he helped Sophia. There was a dignity in his bearing that transcended his circumstances. Tell me about Sophia's mother, Rebecca asked softly. Maria was a teacher, elementary school, 2nd grade. When she got sick, when we knew the cancer was winning, she spent her last months recording herself reading to Sophia, teaching her to love learning. She made hundreds of recordings. She said knowledge would be Sophia's inheritance, better than any money we could leave her. She sounds extraordinary. She was. Sometimes I see her in Sophia's eyes. The same curiosity about everything. When Omar stood to leave, he extended an invitation. There's a cultural exhibition next Saturday at the Metropolitan Museum. Islamic art and science through the ages. I would be honored if you and Sophia would attend as my personal guests. David shifted uncomfortably. That's very kind, but we wouldn't want to impose. Please, Omar interrupted. Sophia has bridged 2 worlds today. Let me show her more of the world she's chosen to understand. The week that followed brought unexpected turbulence. Someone leaked a twisted version of events to a gossip blog. The headline read, Janitor uses child to manipulate billionaire business deal. The story painted David as a scheming opportunist who'd coached his daughter to interrupt the meeting. It went viral within hours. David discovered the story when his supervisor showed him the printout Tuesday morning, warning that building management was reviewing his employment. The whispers followed him through hallways he'd cleaned faithfully for 7 years. Maybe we shouldn't go to the museum, David told Sophia Thursday evening. Maybe it's better if we stay home. But you promised, Sophia said, her disappointment clear. And Mrs. Rebecca called. She said it's important we come. Rebecca had indeed called several times. She'd hired a private investigator, discovering the leak came from a rival firm. She'd also learned more about David, his honorable military discharge, his wife's teaching awards, his perfect employment record. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly. David pressed his one good suit, bought secondhand for Maria's funeral. The museum hall was packed with New York's elite. David felt every stare, heard every whisper. He wanted to leave, but Sophia held his hand tightly, her excitement unwavering. Omar found them near an exhibit on mathematical innovations. David, I heard about the lies being spread. In my country, we have a saying, the dogs bark, but the caravan moves on. Pay them no mind. It's affecting my job, my reputation. Maybe bringing Sophia here was a mistake. The only mistake would be dimming your daughter's light because of shadow-minded people. You're an honorable man raising an exceptional child under difficult circumstances. That threatens people who've achieved less with more. Unexpectedly, the scheduled speaker had fallen ill. The curator asked if Omar might say a few words instead. Omar agreed, with a condition: I would like young Sofia Alvarez to join me. On the small stage, Sophia stood beside Omar, undiminished despite being dwarfed by his presence. She waited as he spoke about the golden age of Islamic science, then he nodded to her. Sophia stepped to the microphone. She spoke first in Arabic, in the name of the compassionate, the merciful. Language is not just words. It's a bridge between hearts, a key to unlock doors of understanding. She switched to English. My daddy cleans buildings. He works very hard so I can have books. Some people think that makes us less important. But I learned Arabic from library books because my daddy taught me that knowledge doesn't care about money. It only cares about hunger, hunger to learn, to understand, to connect. The room was silent. Sophia continued, when I translated for Sheikh Omar and Mrs. Rebecca, I wasn't just changing words. I was helping hearts speak to each other. My mama died when I was 3, but she left me voices, recordings of her reading, teaching. Every language I learn is a way of keeping her alive. Her voice grew stronger. Sheikh Omar built tall buildings. Mrs. Rebecca builds businesses that create jobs. My daddy builds something too. He builds tomorrow by making today clean and safe for everyone. That's noble work. And if a janitor's daughter can learn Arabic and help make a $40 million deal happen, then maybe we need to stop deciding who matters BAS. Add on their job title. The silence stretched. Then someone began clapping. An elderly professor. Then another joined. The applause built like thunder, people rising to their feet, some wiping their eyes. David stood frozen, tears streaming as Sophia walked calmly back to him. Omar took the microphone again, his voice thick with emotion. This child speaks truth we adults often forget. The deal I signed will include a provision I'm adding right now, a scholarship fund for children like Sophia. It will be called the Sophia Alvarez Foundation for Linguistic Studies. He looked directly at the journalists present. Let me be crystal clear about Mr. David Alvarez. Any suggestion that he manipulated this situation is not just false, but insulting. I've met presidents and princes. Few have impressed me with their integrity as much as this man who works 2 jobs to fill his daughter's world with books. Rebecca stepped forward. Effective Monday, Mr. Alvarez will be offered a position as our new community outreach coordinator. We need someone who understands what real work means. This isn't charity, this is recognition that we've been blind to talent in our own building. The following weeks brought rapid change. The scandal story was retracted. David accepted the position after Sophia convinced him it was what Maria would want. Sophia continued attending her regular school but spent afternoons at a language institute, her scholarship covering Arabic, Mandarin, and French. Rebecca found herself drawn to their small family, joining them for Saturday library trips and Sunday dinners. Omar visited monthly, becoming an unexpected grandfather figure to Sophia, teaching her classical Arabic poetry while she taught him American idioms. 3 months later, they gathered at the harbor where Maria's ashes had been scattered. The autumn sun painted the water gold as Omar poured traditional mint tea from a silver family heirloom. In my culture, he said, we believe that some meetings are written in the stars before we're born. That God puts people in our path exactly when we need them. Sophia responded in Arabic. Mama used to say something similar. She said angels sometimes forget to wear their wings so they look like regular people, but if you pay attention you can see them anyway. David pulled his daughter close. What do you see when you look at us, little one? She looked around their small circle and smiled. I see a family. Different kinds of family, but family nonetheless. The kind you choose, the kind that chooses you back. As the sun descended, painting the sky in shades of rose and amber, they sat in comfortable silence. Sophia pulled out a small notebook, writing Arabic letters that looked like birds taking flight. She was working on a children's book about a girl who spoke the language of hearts. David watched his daughter write, thinking of Maria, feeling her presence in the salt breeze. He'd spent 3 years believing he was just surviving. But here, surrounded by unlikely friends who'd become family, watching his daughter bridge worlds with words and the purity of her heart, he understood that survival had transformed into something more. They were thriving. They were building. They were proving that sometimes the most extraordinary moments come from the most ordinary people. The tea grew cold as darkness approached, but none of them moved to leave. Tonight they simply existed together, for souls brought together by chance or fate, watching the lights of the city reflect on the water like earthbound stars. Each one a story, a possibility, a bridge waiting to be built between hearts that had learned to speak the same language of compassion.